Yo, sorry for interruption. What I was saying is when they don't need the power from the sun, they leave the sun to do its job that it's always been doing in a natural way to heat up the planet, provide energy for the nature, and leave the nature alone. And if you if you do start doing science outside just material, outside intellectual bubble, that science, like a Tesla like science, can bring the ability to tap into the energy in the vacuum, okay? Because vacuum contains an infinite source of energy. But of course, the scientist would never know that unless he's also a scientist of consciousness, not just the material world. Um, See, this is why, like a lot of times, the civilization is kind of trapped. There's many reasons, but one of the reasons is that because, well, one of the reasons is that scientists are only doing the science of the material in the material world. If scientists would actually start exploring their own consciousness as a scientist, not taking no bullshit, no woo-woo, nothing, exact same principles as you always used, but you start applying on the internal, um, what I'm talking about, right? Internal. What do you mean? Subjective? Do you mean subjective? Okay, I'm going a little bit off the tangent, but I'm giving you an example, right? If you do the experiment and let's say two people can have like astral projection of out of body experience, and they can recover the information that you can't possibly recover unless you cannot be possibly recovered through the material means. Plus, if that experience can be shared by two people, that's no longer subjective experience because there's two people, right? Then there's three, there's four, there's five, and stuff like that. And you can kind of see that the consensus reality is what people accept as a reality. If 51 out of 100 people see the reality in this certain way, they take this as a consensus and that must be true. Just because there's 51 subjective realities merge. They could be all wrong. There could be 99 people, their all subjective realities merge, and one person comes up and says, boys, this is all wrong. And it's like, what are you talking about? We all agree, we all see the same thing, aren't we? Don't we? And the old boy says, no, this is, each one of you is dreaming a version of reality and you just happen to agree that it is so. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not ultimate reality, it's the belief system. So you just, it's a consensus reality. This is why what I'm trying to say here is that what is objective reality? Objective reality is a consensus reality. What is a consensus reality? Is the agreement of multiple subjective realities. Okay? Okay. I'm glad we agree on this. So if it's the merge or overlap of subjective reality is objective reality, then you can do objective science in the altered states of consciousness. Of course, you have to, you know, apply exact same thing. You have to have people that are, let's say you have 10 scientists in a group, all of them must be able to explore that world to do the science. All of them must agree that what they're observing is objective reality. Of course, this is being done, this is being played with, but not through the like official means. There's lots of like institutes like Monroe Institutes that are doing that, and they way ahead uh, of the so-called mainstream scientists. What is the mainstream? It's just overlap of many subjective realities that they agree that that objective reality is real, but they're living a false reality. And why is it so dangerous? Is because you may end up losing the light on Earth because their ultimate goal is to capture all the power that is available in the material world, because they don't know that you can access power in a non-physical way. This is why this is not a high-level civilization that captured the sun and enslaved the sun. This is the most regressive. They went backwards. The civilization on Earth, let's say, when there was just a bunch of tribes, they were super connected. They're very intelligent. They were connected with the alternate states of consciousness. This is how they knew the information that you cannot be physically obtained. This is why a lot of scientists can just wrap their heads around it. How the fuck did they know? There must be something to do looking for the brain in their butts. And as we all know, no one ever find it there. So yeah, in my knowledge, like Mayan civilization, like these ancient civilizations, they were way ahead based on this trajectory that Neil deGrasse Tyson is hopefully not headed, but thinking of heading. That's going backwards. So, going back to this star imprisonment of star, this is exactly how we treat the person who meant to be a star. What is the person that is a star? It's just a great, playful soul individual. It's somebody that's actually real. And so going back to the free will and the will that sets you free, is never ever submit yourself to the corrupt order. Never ever submit yourself to your own mind. First of all, your mind has to be obedient, like an obedient dog. You cannot let your mind rule, because if you let your mind rule, then you will submit yourself externally to the rule of the mind, government, mind control. You will submit yourself to that, corporations, government, and all this that they operate. They're not alive, by the way. This is why you can't take it personal. You can say, fuck, this is evil shit. When you realize that everything that stems from out of that control, mechanistic, artificial, you see that it's like exact same thing as being angry at your laptop. If the laptop has a virus, you have to do, certain type of excision of the code that causes the problem, and the system works fine. But the way it's going right now is that in order for you to really live free, you gotta stand up for yourself. First of all, stand up for your soul. And it would be kind of easy to just give into the machine. It's easier, right? But the price you pay, it's just not worth it. It's better off to just stay with the unknown and say, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know what I want. This is my dream. And then there's all these offers like, yeah, I can get you your dream, just sign here, and then it's like, yeah, if I just sign and get it, wow. But don't sign it. Say, you know what, I'm not gonna sign it. And I don't know how I'm gonna get it. You're showing me that there's a way to get it through this machine, and I don't want to get it that way. I want to keep my soul intact, but I don't know how my dream's gonna come true, but it will. And you stay with that unknown, comfortable. Basically, you're facing the fear and becoming comfortable with this unknown. And then what happens? Boom! Some realization comes in. Eureka, or whatever. Just like one little move, the first domino that falls that makes everything else fall into place. Now, that wasn't your free will that made that happen. You let go of your free will. And then some will came up. And he's like, I didn't do anything to get this will except just sat with my fear and didn't do anything else. But this insight that came is so genius that you would never been thought of this. And then you act on this will that is not yours the way you thought that the free will, that you're like a free will being. Then you realize that this will is not the way you thought the will is. It feels like it's not your own doing. It feels like you have to give in to some other will that just comes out of your heart, which is your heart. You surrender to your heart. And you say, well, I'm going to do this crazy ass thing that just popped into my head. And then you do it. And that will sets you free. This is why the free will is a lie, because it's not about choosing whatever you want to do. The true will, you already have it. It's nothing to do with the decision making. It's like when you give up your free will, you have it. But you have the freedom. That's what you get. In exchange of giving your free will away and say, well, I don't have free will. I tried this, man. It just doesn't lead anywhere. And in exchange, you get the will that sets you free. You can also say it that there's a will of a man and there's a will of God. And then every will of a man is wrong, if we wanted to say it that way. And which means like every will of the mind is wrong. Every will of the mind is wrong. I mean, it's a very heavy statement. It's like, well, like your mind can't make any decision that's going to lead to something good. No, it can't. It cannot make any decision that will lead to something good. And then you leave your mind where the mind's supposed to be. And where is that? That's just calculating, perceiving, dissecting, analyzing information. It's executing that will, not making decision. Decision comes from your heart, and then if you need to execute it, use your mind to execute it. But your mind may say like, oh, maybe we should do it this way. Be quiet, mind. Execute it. That's your job. And mind, sooner or later is going to be comfortable to become an instrument. You see what I'm saying? And if your mind becomes your instrument, little by little, you're not going to give in into mind control, and you're going to be living your life happy, like outside of that. And then other people will join you, and then there's going to be a group of people that live from the heart. And little by little, that's going to grow, and little by little, the old world that is run by the mind is going to shrink. And but first is you have to do that within you, because then when you do it within you, you do not accept it outside of you. And then you meet other people who do not accept this outside of themselves. But it's not a tantrum, oh, I don't like it, you go and protest it. This is not this. This is because these people still using their mind, and they think that the solution is to just go there and protest it and waste their energy in that way, which is just facilitating more of that stuff. But because from the heart, your heart will never tell you go protest against what's going on, because your heart is wiser than that. It will tell you Anyway, I hope I discern the difference between the free will and where it leads, and the will that sets you free and where that leads. It leaves the sun alone. It leaves the star, the person that is created, alone, and acts more like a protector than the government. Mind has to be an instrument, you see, and you cannot structure the heart. And this is what we have right now, that's about to end. Uh, you know. Well, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.